Before we begin, if you enjoy story narrations like this, consider subscribing so you don't miss future ones.
The first time I noticed something was wrong, it was a coffee cup, not a broken window, not a missing item, just a coffee cup sitting on the wrong side of my kitchen counter. I remember staring at it longer than I should have, trying to reconstruct the previous night in my head.
I lived alone.
I always left the cup beside the sink before going to bed. Always. But now it sat near the window, turned slightly toward the hallway, as if someone had paused there while holding it. I laughed it off. People forget things.
Memory shifts.
Habits blur together. But 3 days later, it happened again. That was when my apartment stopped feeling private. I had a routine so ordinary it felt invisible. Wake up at 6, run 3 miles along the canal, shower, coffee, the 8:10 bus downtown, lunch at the same deli twice a week, groceries every Thursday evening, laundry every Sunday night. The routine steadied me. The city was loud, crowded, unpredictable, but my life moved in patterns I could trust.
I never realized routines are also maps.
Precise ones, and someone had learned how to read mine. The sign started small, a hallway light left on after work. My bathroom mirror slightly fogged when I knew I hadn't showered that morning. My bike chain freshly oiled. One evening,
I found my running shoes neatly aligned against
the wall instead of kicked beneath the bench where I
always left them. I told myself I was
distracted, tired, burned out from work. But then I came home one rainy night and noticed the shower floor was still damp, not soaked, not dripping, just damp enough that someone had been there recently. I stood in the doorway, listening to my apartment breathe around me. The refrigerator hummed softly. Cars hissed through wet streets outside. Somewhere upstairs, footsteps crossed a floor slowly, then stopped. I checked every room, nothing missing.
no broken lock.
No open window. Yet the apartment felt touched. That was the first night I slept with the hallway light on. The note appeared 2 weeks later. I had stayed late at work helping finish quarterly reports. By the time I got home, the building lobby was empty, except for the old security television flickering near the elevators. When I opened my apartment door, the living room lamp was already on. I froze. I knew I had turned it off before leaving. On the coffee table sat a folded piece of paper, just one sentence. Like the way you leave your keys on the table. That sentence changed
Everything. Because it wasn't threatening, it was observant, intimate. Someone hadn't just entered my apartment.
They had watched me live inside it. I checked the locks twice. Then 3 times I searched the closets.
Under the bed.
Inside the laundry room. Nothing. But the silence afterward felt crowded. After that, I started documenting everything. Dates, times, objects moved.
Lights left on.
Sounds in the hallway. At first, the notebook looked ridiculous. The paranoid diary of someone losing control. But patterns began emerging. Every intrusion happened on days I ran the canal route. Every note appeared after I took the 8:10 bus. Every strange occurrence lined up with
moments when my schedule became predictable. That
realization unsettled me more than the notes themselves. Someone
wasn't randomly watching me. They were
studying me, so I changed everything. I left for work earlier, took different buses,
skipped my morning run.
bought coffee from another shop across town. For 2 days, nothing happened. I almost convinced myself it was over. Then on the 3rd night, I returned home and found another note tucked beneath my doormat. Nice detour. I liked the corner with the jasmine better. My stomach dropped. The jasmine corner was 3 blocks away from my normal route. I had stopped there for less than 30 seconds because the rain smelled different near the flower stand. No one should.
I have noticed that. I suddenly became aware of how exposed everyday life really is. How many times had someone stood near me without being remembered?
After that, the city changed. Every reflection in a shop window became a possibility. Every stranger lingering too long near a crosswalk felt deliberate. I started checking behind me constantly on the bus,
In elevators,
at grocery stores. I began sitting with my back against walls in cafes so nobody could stand behind me unnoticed. Sleep became difficult. Some nights I would wake at 3 a.m. convinced I had heard movement in the apartment.
once I sat in darkness for nearly an hour, holding
My breath because I thought I heard footsteps.
outside my bedroom door. But the worst part wasn't fear, it was anticipation. Part of me began expecting the stalker's presence, listening for it.
Looking for signs, that terrified me more than the notes. One morning, while running near the canal after weeks of avoiding it, I saw them, a figure standing beneath a lamp post through the fog, hands in coat pockets, dark hat. Completely still. At first they looked ordinary, then they lifted one hand slowly and gave me a small wave, not threatening, not aggressive. Familiar, like someone greeting a person they knew well. My pace slowed automatically. The figure didn't approach me, didn't follow, they simply watched. And somehow that felt worse. I kept jogging until the lamppost disappeared behind the fog, but I could still feel their eyes on me long afterward. I finally installed cameras inside my apartment, cheap ones, the kind you buy online after reading too many stories at 2 a.m. for several nights. Nothing happened. Then one Saturday afternoon, while reviewing footage, I noticed something strange at 2:13 a.m. The hallway camera flickered just once, half a second, then normal again. But during the flicker, one frame appeared distorted. A shape near my apartment door, tall, blurry, standing perfectly still. I replayed it over and over until the pixels blurred together. The next morning,
Another note appeared inside my mailbox. The cameras make you look nervous. I nearly dropped the paper. They knew, not just about my routine anymore,
about my reaction to them. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't random obsession. It was participation. The stalker wanted to be felt. Friends told me to go to the police, I tried. But how do you explain fear built from tiny details? No threats, no forced entry, no face, no fingerprints, just notes, patterns, awareness. The officer taking my report looked sympathetic but unconvinced. Could be someone messing with you, he said gently. I nodded even though I knew.
better, because whoever this person was,
They possessed patience, and patient people are difficult to prove. Weeks later, I found the final note. It waited on the passenger seat of my car. No sign of forced entry. No damage, just the folded paper resting there quietly like it belonged. I unfolded it slowly. You changed everything.
I changed with you. That's the point. I sat there.
For a long time, staring at the dashboard while rain tapped softly against the windshield. Then the realization arrived. The stalker had never been trying to corner me. They were trying to synchronize with me, to learn my
Movement so completely that my life became
predictable to them before I even lived it. My habits, my pauses, the way I looked up at second-floor windows before crossing streets, the way I hummed while tying my shoes, the long route I took home when it rained. Someone else had memorized all of it. I moved apartments twice after that. Changed buses, changed gyms, changed grocery stores. For a while, the notes stopped. Then, months later, I opened a library book in a cafe and a small piece of paper slipped from between the pages. My chest tightened before I even unfolded it. Thank you for the company, nothing else, no threat.
no signature, just gratitude. That was somehow
The most disturbing part, because it meant the watcher had experienced our silence together as a relationship. People think fear comes from violence. It doesn't. Sometimes fear comes from being observed too carefully, from
realizing your smallest rituals and the unconscious.
ones that have become familiar to someone you've never truly seen. Even now, years later, some habits remain. I still glance behind me near reflective windows. I still avoid routines lasting too long. I still hesitate before leaving my keys on the kitchen table. But every now and then, on quiet mornings beside the canal, I catch myself falling back into old patterns. The same route, the same pace, the same hum while tying my shoes. And sometimes, when the fog settles low over the water, I feel the strange certainty that somewhere nearby, someone is still keeping time with me.
Did the story send chills down your spine? And from which city are you tuning in tonight? Let's meet in the comments. If you enjoyed this dark tale, you can support me with a super thanks so I can keep uncovering more gripping true crime stories for you. Thank you so much for your support. It helps me bring even more suspenseful narratives to life. I'm looking forward to your thoughts on this mystery. There's a lot more waiting for you on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next chilling story with intrigue and respect.